Jared, stop eating ice cream.
Make me. Baby, we ain't got no place to go. I hope you understand.
All right, let's actually cut some hair. First, you're going to want to put a cape around your client. Then let's get out the clippers and begin cutting. As you begin cutting, you're going to want to make sure that you lift the clippers up off of the head as the head rounds. The key is to create a graduation of short to long hair. So you want to hold the clippers really tight to the head in the beginning, and then you want to flip up your wrist to create a nice sweeping motion. You want to do this all around the head. The key is really to make sure you're lifting up off the head and flipping out the clippers, almost like you're trying to scoop out the hair as you get to the round of the head. All right, so now you want to use your little trimmers on the sides to create a nice blunt line. A little trick I like to use around the back is I go directly and create the line where I want the hair to be on the neck, and then I clean up the rest after I create the line. You're going to want to make sure that you remove the cape or the towel by the neck and clean up all the little hairs underneath. Next, let's get out the spray bottle. Make the top section wet and begin cutting that. A little trick that I like to use is I go to the back of the cowlick and I make it lay flat before I begin cutting. That way the hair all gets cut to how it will lay when it's dry. For this first part, you want to take your longest length that you cut with the clippers on the side, and you want to bring it up. You can see how I find the shortest piece on the side, and then I just cut straight up. The goal with a men's haircut is to keep the haircut square. So you don't want to go with the round of the head. You want to cut straight up to the sky from your shortest piece. Okay, so this front part is super important. You want to make sure that you're slightly over directing that front piece, which means you're basically just pulling it, smidge it back away from the face. Otherwise, you'll get a nice little short piece right in the front that will expose your receding hairline, and you really don't want that. Now I'm just going back around and I'm tweaking things around the cowlick. The cowlick will always be your trouble spot, so you'll probably end up working the most on that. It always likes to stick out a little bit more than the rest. Now I'm using a technique that I call scissor over comb, basically just going in and creating more of a blunt line. I take the scissors and I use the comb like my fingers and just go up and kind of scoop out. Again, always make sure that you are taking that front piece and over directing it back away from the face. Next, it's time for the top part. You want to go ahead and cut your guide. Typically 2 inches is about a good spikeable length that you can still style off to the side. You want to cut your guide, again over directing the front back away from the face so that it doesn't get too short right by the face. Next, I make the hair like a mohawk, and I find my guide and use that to cut the rest of the top layer so that I have my guide all the way across the head. Again, with men's haircuts, you want to keep them square. So if you think about a box on the head, I'm just taking it directly over and making the top straight across. In the back, I do slightly taper down to the length of the cowlick. This will help so that it doesn't stick out as much. Okay, now we take the sides, go from the guide that you just cut, and find the side length that you cut before. Now you're just connecting the lines, one point to the next. Again, with that front hairline piece, make sure you're bringing it back away from the face slightly so that it doesn't get too short around the face. Now, if you want to be like a real pro who is obsessed with hair, you take the time to feel the hair, spike it up, play around with it, and just see how it's going to lay. Now I'm going to go through and make any tweaks that I want to make to the cut. There will always be some long pieces, typically around the cowlick, which is usually the trouble spot. So you can go back through and tweak whatever you need to.
Where is my mouth?
You know, this is all getting recorded, right?